What is up, lads? You're with Budget Monk, and welcome to a multiple part series. This is intended to help you achieve a world conquest. Basically, a world conquest boiled down and made easy. Regardless of the nation you're playing or which region you're playing, there should be one ultimate goal that you have in the early stages of the game. Every decision that you make, you should be thinking about how can you most efficiently make money? And the reason why is because you want to push as quickly as you can for the economic hegemon. Once you take the economic hegemon, you no longer care about money because you're already going to be very affluent, and this modifier in of itself is going to make you so absurdly rich that through the combination of having this and expanding, aka monopolizing on trade and so on, you won't even need to care about money. You're going to have money coming out of your ears. So the beginning of the game is about making money, and the late game you won't care about making money. Money is just to be utilized to achieve your ends. Now, the real reason that you want this is not for the money necessarily, but for the autonomy in territories, which gives you manpower and force limit through the wazoo. So combined with the government reforms, which give you 10% autonomy in territories, this gives you another 20%, and it's going to mean minimum. You can access autonomy in territories from other things, but it's going to give you a minimum of 60 autonomy in territories, meaning that you basically have 40% of the piece of the pie when it comes to manpower and force limits. This is, of course, without stating the provinces up and paying double admin. It's without the governing capacity of owning the state. And matter of fact, you don't even need to core the provinces. As soon as you peace out, you have the autonomy, and you're going to see a massive ramp up in manpower and force limit. And remember, if you're not that thrilled with 40 or 50% with other modifiers, remember that you can take a massive amount of land in the late game due to admin efficiency from technology and absolutism, as well as other means like war school cost reduction from ideas that you'll have access to in the late game and the imperialism CB. So what this means is that, in the early game, you might be impressed by recovering your cores or taking the Balkan side as Byzantium and stating it up. But in the late game, you will, even though you only get 40% of the value, number one, the AI develops so much and builds buildings in this patch, but also you'll be able to take dramatically, 3, 4, 5 times as much, depending. So therefore, you'll see huge increases in manpower and force limit, and that's why you're trying to achieve the economic hegemon at all costs. So the first part of this series is going to be about trade income. The real way that you make money is through trade. And I'm going to teach you guys in a moment by using the console commands. We've cheated here. I'm going to create some certain scenarios here where we have acquired a certain amount of land, and I'm going to teach you about how to efficiently manage your trade income, which is the real money maker. The key to making buckets and buckets of ducats is to expand in a way and spend your aggressive expansion and monarch points in a way that benefits your most important income, the king of all income, your trade income. So what I have done here is I've cheated with the console command to consume all of the Ragusan and the Constantinople region. And lo and behold, you will see that we have 100% retention in Constantinople. This is the very important principle. There's a card up above of an older video which goes into this in more detail. I call it the Pseudo End Node. What a lot of people don't understand is that this can be extrapolated not only to any other region of the world, but it can also be extrapolated all the way down the line. So there are two types of nodes that I like to refer to. One is a competitive node, and that is Ragusa in this case, which its only purpose is to have trade power, which helps us retain Constantinople. And then there's the other type of node, which is a monopolized node. Now, both should be treated in a certain way, respectively. Some nodes are both pseudo monopolized and pseudo competitive, and you can treat them half and half respectively. But if you want to understand how it is that you make a ton of money by treating the monopolized nodes, aka building them up, watch the second part to the series. What we're going to talk about for the most part in this series is this principle, and I'm going to show you guys how you want to extrapolate this all the way down to dominate trade income. So I think you guys can agree that if you're having a very successful game, your nation might look something like this. I think we're a bit strong here, but regardless, what you're naturally going to want to do as Byzantium is to push eastward into these trade nodes. And I'm going to show you how to continue to extrapolate this to get the most out of your trade income once I consume these provinces right now. Jumping ahead here, you can see that I have integrated all of the Aleppo and Mamluk trading region. Now, granted, this might take you a long time. That's okay. It's very important that this is well optimized, not necessarily that much pressure to perform and achieve this before 1600 or something like that. I want you to take notice of what has happened to the economy. I haven't done anything apart from integrate everybody within these two regions and let time pass, but you will see that we 100% monopolize Aleppo. Now, this is very important to understand because you'll see that there's actually not that much wealth traveling through Aleppo when compared to Alexandria. In fact, these two are more than that combined, but it also has this here as well. So there's a little bit of a misconception that Alexandria is more of a valuable node. Well, what you're going to want to do is to conquer Ragusa for retention in Constantinople while you build up Constantinople. There's no issue with expanding in this direction at the same time, but you're also going to want to build up Aleppo as a secondary priority, and the reason why is because you are realistically going to monopolize on Aleppo as you expand naturally. Notice that if we build up Alexandria's trade power, we are going to lose the majority of the trade power. And this actually means that the AI, collectively, other nations are going to reap the rewards. And this is much more relevant and poignant for a multiplayer game, I might add, where other players would be tapping into this wealth. What that means is, yes, is this a valuable node? Yes. Do we want to benefit from this? Yes. Do we have a merchant here? Yes. But do you see how this also is operating in the same way that Ragusa is protecting Constantinople? Alexandria is protecting Aleppo. So in order to monopolize Alexandria, what is it that we would have to do? We would have to conquer and control Venice, and we would have to conquer and control Genoa. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but talk about wishful thinking, right? Already, most people would be sort of shocked at how much we have expanded. We're looking around the year 1600 kind of mark that you'd hope to look something like this. It's pretty wishful thinking for me to just say, oh, and own all of Western Europe as well, whereas this is quite somewhat realistic. And so therefore, you're never going to fully dominate Alexandria. It's not unacceptable to have that mentality that I will never completely dominate Alexandria until much later in the game. And what that means is that we value trade power in Alexandria. We want to have these upgraded. Around this range, 1,000 ducats might not be too much for you, and you might want to put it in this region, a rank 3 trade center. Also, you're going to want to have marketplaces. You're not going to want to necessarily build up trade power with manufacturers, but instead marketplaces to protect the trade and make sure you're ripping as much out of Alexandria as possible. Whereas in these areas that you have 100% monopolized, a marketplace does literally nothing for you. Of course, also consider the trading company investment for trade power. This is going to be the absolute juice in a natural hub like this, where a rank 1 of these trade centers gives 5 trade power. The trading company investment gives 4 trade power to every province in the area, meaning this is 3 times 4, or that is 4 times 4. Some states are composed of 5 provinces, and therefore if you have marketplaces which gives you 50% more trade power, you want the trade power retention in Alexandria, whereas you could not care less in Aleppo. Now what we're going to do, even though the missions force you from this point onwards, or they suggest that you push west, what I'm going to do is show you guys what you should be doing to make money, and we're going to continue to extrapolate this down the Silk Road. All right, just extrapolating down to two other trading regions here. We've incorporated all of Persia and Basara via the console commands. We're going to talk briefly about trading companies. What I've done is I've incorporated all of the trade centers into our trading companies to generate additional merchants. If you want some more informative content about trading companies, there's a 4-minute video up above which could really benefit you, but we're going to talk briefly about trading companies. Essentially, trading companies have less governing capacity cost, and they do not require to be caught with your admin, which is very valuable and important. If you want to explode this much, you need to use it annexing more land instead of stating provinces up. Now, some people might think, but aren't they worse? Well, that depends. To put it bluntly, they make more money. They're worse for force limit and manpower. But remember, money equals force limit and manpower, and therefore the fact that they have less governing capacity costs and don't cost as much admin points, they are vastly superior in my opinion. There may be another drawback that you might consider, which is they are going to have lower autonomy, which means you're going to get less reform progress. Do not worry about this, because you're going to have better autonomy improved in your territories and trading companies in the late game from the economic hegemon, but combined with the fact that high crown land in the late game, the Age of Absolutism onwards, gives you additional reform progress, it means that you will continue to gain reform progress long into the future, which historically wouldn't be the case, and the times are long gone where you will no longer be able to pass your reforms as long as you reach that economic hegemon. Now let's talk about trade. We use those two to generate merchants, and we're in here. You can see, as per usual, in the same exact way that Basara leads into Aleppo, which we already own, and into Persia, and by dominating Persia we have 100% retention in Basara. Now mind you, we do have Timurids in here, but you can see that 100% of the trade is flowing through. So we build this up and we are competitive in Persia. If I quizzed you on which trade node is more valuable, Persia or Basara, a lot of people, their instinct would say Persia, and they are correct. But you must understand how it is more beneficial is that it protects Basara, but not only that, we would otherwise lose here. You can see that Hormuz would now be extremely valuable. All we need to do from this point is push here, and we will get massive returns, because we will have, if we had 100% of Hormuz, then we would have 100% control, and it would all flow through thanks to Persia. Persia naturally has a lot of wealth, and this is an extremely competitive node. This is where you should be obsessed with trade power to retain as much as possible, but it should be, of course, now at this stage Constantinople, Aleppo, Basara, and then Hormuz, which should be built up. All right, that is it for the first part of this series. In the next part, we're going to be cheating to make money and take technology to unlock the buildings in order to show you guys how to build up the trade nodes. And I'm talking specifically about the monopolized nodes. So I hope that this first part taught you something about how to dominate and monopolize nodes. Definitely let me know down in the comments below, guys, if you did in fact learn something from this video. Remember, the goal is to make money to grab the economic hegemon. Otherwise, I hope that this benefits you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.